Pleasure to see Charlie Higson here, his last television appearance on the Harry and Paul show. He was sitting in an armchair discussing whether I was queer or not.
Did you go down as probable queer?
No, probable definite queer.
Probable definite queer.
Welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Jo Brand. In the news this week, in Westminster, after the acceptance of his policy to get the work shy off benefits and back to leading useful lives, Ian Duncan Smith takes a night off to celebrate. In a desperate bid to claw back Sunday evening viewers from Downton Abbey, the BBC auditions a new weather girl. And after 12 months in isolation in the wilds of Borneo, a British zoologist finally finds out that Nick Clegg has been made Deputy Prime Minister.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh.
On Ian Hislop's team is a Labour activist and wife of the Speaker of the House of Commons, whose regular use of Twitter has been described as abandoning all attempts at dignity by Anne Widdecombe. Of course, last seen being winched through the air dressed like Equality Street. Please welcome Sally Bercow. And with Paul Merton tonight is a writer and actor who spent 6 years as a singer in a band. He says he survived his early career largely because of the free sandwiches and beer at gigs. You and me both. Please welcome Charlie Higson. And we start with the biggest stories of the week. Ian and Sally, take a look at this.
Oh, there's Duncan Smith, getting the unemployed working. Certainly worked for him. There he is, clearing up some leaves. Excellent. And there's the Archbishop of Canterbury. Don't you love him?
Very much so.
Students.
Before they started smashing windows.
Or breaking news, as it says there.
I was quite encouraged. I thought, blimey, students, they've woken up. They've been told that the teaching budget's been cut, they're going to have to pay 3 times as much and pay it back for the rest of their lives. And they're thinking, I'm not sure I approve of that.
The protest centred on Millbank.
Yeah, they attacked Tory HQ.
Right, not Ed Milbank or David Milbank. And it was a student protest, so it started to break up round about countdown time.
Of course, the Lib Dems were staunchly saying, of course, they wouldn't go up, which is great that they got in power and put it up.
Yeah.
Well, they had no idea they were going to be in power when they...
Well, they couldn't say
when they made these promises.
But how does Nick Clegg look at himself in the mirror in the mornings?
Just looks at David Cameron and sees the same thing.
Well, there was also a very helpful police statement,
yes.
Which was, anyone who engages in a crime will be arrested.
Redefining the rule book there, aren't they?
Should we pop over to Ian Duncan Smith? What was his big proposal?
To make those in long-term unemployment do a small amount of community work in order to get them in the habit of doing something rather than just sitting on the sofa watching telly. A bit of gardening, bit of light council work.
Yeah. But then the people who do those jobs will then get the sack.
Yeah.
And then they'll be on the dole for 6 months and then they'll get a job doing a gardener or...
Do you know how much they're going to earn?
£1 an hour.
£1 an hour,
Top
which
whack
to be...
here.
Yes, it's more
really?
than twice the going rate for 9-year-old Romanian fruit pickers. So...
Why would anyone want to pick 9-year-old Romanian fruit?
The Archbishop of Canterbury said it's very demeaning that people should have to go to work sweeping the streets, and so, of course, all the people who go to work sweeping the streets are thinking, well, that's a nice thing to say, isn't it? You and your posh hat and your fancy curly stick.
But actually, someone did have a go back at the Archbishop of Canterbury for
really?
his... Yes. Do you know who it was?
Was it Satan? He's Satan in human guise.
Yes, it's Lord Tebbit, so it was.
Now, that's an interesting legal point, because I had no idea who I was talking about when I made that statement. So I can... Yeah, is it? Oh, really? Is it?
What, you're worried Satan's going to sue?
You're worried, aren't
And the government is supporting Duncan Smith's proposals, obviously. A spokesman gave a quote to a reporter. He said, "The principle here is about turning up on time and doing something useful." At which point the journalist shrugged and went, "No, sorry, you've lost me there."
Said the stand-up.
How dare you?
Actress.
I went for a job once in a comedy show playing a character based on myself, and I was so shit I didn't get it. That's how good my acting is. Anyway, should we talk about Phil Woolas?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
he's been in trouble this week.
Well, basically, Phil Woolas was found guilty of lying in his election literature and was banned from being a Member of Parliament. But he is appealing. And...
Only to you. He wasn't just banned. We had a by-election overturned. The will of the people, for the first time in nearly 100 years, the judges have said no. He behaved so badly, we're going to have the by-election again. Except we're not, are we?
No, not at the moment. No.
Because of you.
No, that's nonsense.
Is it not true?
No, if you read the Mail on Sunday and the Daily Mail, you would think that
And
basically...
the Telegraph.
And the Telegraph.
And there was a little bit in the Guardian and a bit...
No, it's only the right-wing media. They basically take the view that I am behind the scenes influencing my husband.
And are you not?
No, I wish.
So his decision to suspend having the by-election in order to give Phil another chance, which is what you said over the weekend.
Well, yeah, but that's just coincidence. It's great minds think alike, you know.
Anyone married here believe that? Anyway, we're not getting this by-election. Mr Woolas, despite the judges finding that he did lie about his opponents and make things up about them, they've decided he's going to have his chance to appeal again.
Well, the people of Oldham also, you know, it was their verdict in the general election.
Yes.
And it's been overturned by these judges.
Yeah.
For the first time in 99 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big event,
It's
isn't
a
it?
worrying precedent.
Yeah. And you can't have judges interfering.
No.
They'd start putting MPs in jail.
Should we hear what the Times had to say?
Yeah, let's have a sensible, unbiased, right-wing Fox view.
Well, they said the Speaker's decision to delay is likely to lead to renewed questions about the impartiality of your husband and the influence of his wife. Sally, anything to say before we have you ducked in the village pond? Did they actually know... You know, you went on the politics show, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did they know who you were on it? I don't know if you've seen this. Well, let me just have a look. Treasury Chief Secretary Danny Alexander. Had you not seen that?
Who knew I had ginger hair?
I knew I'd seen you before somewhere.
No, I hadn't seen that, no.
Oh, you're much more influential than him. Most powerful woman in the country. I'm really privileged today. I can just whisper stuff and it'll happen 2 days' time.
No.
So, anyway, Phil Woolas was also expelled from Labour, who are not funding his legal costs. Harriet Harman was very critical. Did anyone see what she said?
Yes. She said, we're not backing people who lie in order to win elections. This is the party of Tony Blair.
And if Phil Woolas's political career is over, will he be missed, do you think?
I've never heard of him.
No. Charlie's not going to miss him. You're not going to miss him at all. I don't think I'd miss him either.
Oh, he was famous. He got jumped on by Joanna Lumley about the Gherkins.
That's right.
Are you reassured? The Minister has explained, and I think we are all agreed that we are going to be able to help in the formation of new guidelines. So that will be wonderful. These will be guidelines which will be completed by July. And the 1,500 changes will be looked at, we understand, most sympathetically.
Also, this week it emerged that one of Cameron's advisors had a little chat with the police last Thursday.
Andy Coulson.
Yes.
Andy Coulson, Cameron's communications chief, over the rumbling phone-tapping affair that dates back to when Coulson was editor of the News of the World.
Yeah, he says that even though journalists were hacking phones, as editor, he had no idea. I mean, why would you? Someone comes up with a story, you'd say, that's brilliant, I won't ask where you got that.
Well, that's
Straight
right.
in the paper.
I mean, he continues to deny it, although one of his deputies at the paper pointed out 13 former colleagues have either said, yes, I transcribed celebrities' messages and gave them to Andy, or I hacked into a politician who we may have thought was being corrupt on Andy's say-so. Who to believe?
Well, it's one thing or the other. Either he's a totally incompetent editor who has no idea what's happening on his newspaper, or he isn't.
They should just ask the News of the World to tap his phone and we can find out if he's guilty or not.
Because you tweeted in September, apparently, surely Coulson is set to spend more time with his family. Do you think he is?
Well, I do, and I hope so, yes.
Why do you tweet? What's in it for you?
Why do I tweet? It's fun, actually.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It's fun and enjoyable. You should try it.
Yeah.
Does he...
That rules it out for Paul.
It's a bit like water skiing. It looks fun, but it's for other people, you know?
So who reads it, apart from researchers?
Well, mainly the media and the Daily Mail, I think.
Is that why you do it? Is it a sort of sadomasochistic thing?
Well, kind of, yeah, kind of. No, I kind of like to take the piss out of the Mail a bit.
It's to save Andy Coulson the time of actually bugging her phone.
I got into trouble for tweeting about the Pope, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my biggest faux pas, because...
Did he send round the heavies?
That blind albino monk?
Yeah.
Was it considered unsuitable behaviour?
Unsuitable behaviour for the Speaker's wife. I should be handing out cucumber sandwiches and making cups of tea.
Well, that's certainly a point.
Ian Hislop, an arch traditionalist. I do it my head in. I can't cope.
Meanwhile, Gordon Brown was caught masquerading as his wife this weekend. He took over his wife's Twitter account on Sunday.
She went from 2 million followers to about 6.
It was apparently to show his support for democracy in Burma. Well, that'll bring down the junta, won't it? Did you tweet at him while he was
I did
tweeting?
tweet at him.
What did you tweet at him?
I can't remember, to be honest with you.
Well, I can. It's all right.
Your
you
researchers are too good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, thank God it's not me, because I'd just be looking in Woman's Own going, oh, that's an interesting recipe. No, you said, good to have you on here, Gordon, and for a great cause too.
Oh, that's quite... yeah.
I have to say, actually, some other people were less supportive. Someone called Lewis Coyne tweeted, GB, if you're going to be an MP, will you please attend parliamentary sessions regularly? Cheers. And here's Duncan Weston. GB, while you're on here, would you like to explain why you and your party bankrupted the UK? Doesn't affect me, but I am curious. Sounds unlikely you'll let your husband take over your Twitter.
No,
feed,
I wouldn't,
no.
no.
Fair enough.
He used to be a Tory, don't forget, so...
What is he now, then?
Well, he's impartial.
Oh, right.
The day he became Speaker, he had to stop being a Conservative MP. Saddest day of his life, obviously.
He no longer has any views.
No, at all.
Apart from those of his wife. Oh!
No!
Jolly unfair. Yeah, where are those cucumber sandwiches?
I'll pop out and make you some in a minute.
Can I have a cake?
Yeah, in your face.
It makes me wonder where the cucumber sandwich is going, but...
Possibly sphincter ways.
It's near Chiswick, isn't it?
Ring Road.
Shall we move away
Yeah, I think
from the anal? Tony Blair's... No, we haven't. Tony Blair's been busy this week.
It's toilet paper, isn't it?
It is.
He's agreed to give an after-dinner speech to a manufacturer of toilet paper for 50 grand. It's a sad end to a career. They've got an acronym.
ISSA.
International Sanitary
Services anal. Or something like
In
that.
brackets.
Yeah.
It's on the outside of their building. They get a lot of complaints.
OK, well, let's do another Labour leader then, shall we? Ed Miliband.
Had a baby.
That's right, but there was a certain lack of humility in Ed's announcement at the hospital.
We'll be announcing the name in the coming days, but he's really gorgeous. He looks a bit like me.
You know about the joke about the bloke who goes to the pub, he can't bear to be at the childbirth, and so he keeps phoning up the hospital, and then he gets a bit drunk, and he phones up the cricket ground by mistake at the end, and he says, what's the latest? And he says, well, all 10 are out, and the last 2 were ducks.
Do we have some happy news?
We just had some. We had a baby.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, I suppose that's... Yes.
That's happy. You're not against babies, are you, Joan?
No, I'm not, but actually I have to say, you know, like, as a woman, when you've had a baby, you don't feel quite as joyful as your husband who's half pissed on his way to the pub, really.
I know.
You look
know.
like shit, you feel like shit, and you want to stay in for 27 years.
Yeah. Well, you've got the baby to keep you company.
No, the weird thing is, when you just had a baby as well, your husband wants to have sex with you straight away. What's that all about?
Well, it's a
Mine
bed.
had to be removed from the birthing pool by security. It's very...
The sad sight.
It was sad.
Terrible
Absolutely.
story.
It's not true,
I
Ian.
know.
It's by the police. Yes, there's some happy news this week from Ireland. Their government has worked out what it is that every recession-hit family in the country needs, which is...
Cheese. The Irish politician sometimes is a strange breed. Everybody's going to be given a piece of cheese. Free cheese from the government. I don't know whether it's going to be pushed through your letterbox, given to the dog to take home. I've no idea.
But apparently you have to collect it from your local leisure centre.
How long has the leisure centre been making cheese?
What did Jeremy Paxman call this on Newsnight?
Oh, Cheesegate.
Quantitative cheesing. Right, this is the latest proposal from Ian Duncan-Smith at the Ministry for Work and Pensions, or as it'll soon be known, the Ministry for No Work and Hardly Any Pensions. Under coalition plans, unemployed people will be made to pick up all the litter in the streets, which these days is mostly ripped-up copies of the Lib Dem manifesto. Thank you for that one round of applause. Paddy Ashdown. On a happier note, congratulations to Ed Miliband, who this week heard the pitter-patter of tiny feet as Hazel Blears popped round to see the new baby. Yes, Ed has just provided his 17-month-old son Daniel with a younger brother. Well, I say younger brother, I mean deadly career rival. Paul and Charlie, here's yours.
OK. Oh, yes, George, yes, clearly. George Bush just making... David Cameron in China and Obama, I think he's in India, I think. Yes, this is coconuts and Obama. The Indian authorities were rather worried that a coconut might fall off a coconut tree and hit him, and they didn't want him to be sort of involved in any kind of slapstick accident that would become very popular on YouTube. So they cut the coconuts off the top of the trees, and they also got rid of all banana skins on pavements and advised every person carrying a very long plank not to turn around quickly within 50 metres of the presidential visit.
I think they banned people from walking across the road with invisible panes of glass.
Exactly. Exactly.
I was impressed, though, that his dancing was worse than George Bush's.
Oh, George, yes, I've forgotten about him.
I think he's obviously trying to prove to the American people that he's not too black by dancing like a white man.
Yeah. I think that's unfair on white people, to be honest.
This is the publication of former President George W. Bush's memoirs.
He says that, you know, he talked about waterboarding, and he said, well, this is, you know, it was perfectly right to do this because my job is to protect America, is what he said.
He said waterboarding was perfectly legal. In fact, he and Laura enjoyed a nice waterboarding holiday in the Everglades recently.
Yes, they use this term simulated drowning. I mean, simulated drowning is something you watch on a video game, isn't it? When somebody's actually... you're in the physical act of having water poured into you, you are drowning. It's not simulated.
No, it doesn't actually go in, though.
Doesn't it?
No, it stays on something over your face.
Oh, really?
But you believe you're drowning.
You believe you do.
And everybody else who has a view says it's torture.
Well, it's the leisure activity of choice in Guantanamo Bay.
And in Dulwich.
Yeah, there's not much to do in Dulwich, though,
No,
is there?
there isn't. I've tried it on my husband. He didn't like it much. Do you know who Junior Birdman is?
He's the son of Birdman.
He probably is, but he's also Bush's ghostwriter.
He gets the drawings and turns them into words.
And what does George say was his toughest decision?
Was that giving up alcohol?
It was indeed.
Which is the one decision we all wish he hadn't made. And he's a perfect example. Well, he's an advert for the benefits of mass intoxication.
Well, he said about giving up drinking, being the sober guy helped me realise how mindless I must have sounded when drunk. I mean, I don't think we can quite grasp what that must have been like, can we, really? And why did he say he hasn't been critical of Obama?
He has no idea who he is.
But what he actually said was, I don't think it's good to be bloviating on every issue. It means to blow out a lot of hot air. He does use a few weird words. Sockdolager.
That's a glove puppet, isn't it? It's TV. Sockdolager.
Something unusually hard and heavy, like me, in other words. Thank you. Andy Ashdown again.
He gets around, doesn't he?
He does, he's
there,
moving about.
Yeah.
This is old SAS training, isn't it?
Moves like a panther, apparently.
And how did Bush, according to his book, avoid bugs in a hotel room?
Slept on the roof. Like a bloody idiot. The height of my political satire.
Did he say nothing to fool the bugs?
No, it's brilliant what he did. His security men would take a tent wherever they went and set it up inside the hotel room, and he would sit inside it and chat in it.
Inside some soundproof canvas. Wow.
I think it wasn't made of canvas.
Oh, wasn't it?
No. I don't know, what soundproof? I don't know, lead or...
What? He sat in
bread
somebody
or
had to get a
something.
lead tent up onto the fourth floor.
Well, I don't know, I'm not
It was a lead tent
necessarily...
for Governor. Oh, it's the president on the fourth floor.
We're going to move on to Dave. Where's Dave at the moment?
Oh, he's in China, isn't he? And he's going to talk about human rights briefly in a speech that nobody will hear or have translated. And in response, we will organise sort of business arrangements with them. That's basically how it goes. And they're going to build 56 airports in the next 5 years. So that's what William Hague said. And I was there once, and it's a bit disturbing because all the airports are the same. They did build them all at the same time about 10 years ago, so you'd land at the same place you took off from 2 hours earlier. Literally everything is the same. The Coca-Cola machine is in exactly the same place. It's all the same. You wouldn't expect that of China, would you?
Who did Dave take with him to China?
He's a specially commissioned photographer who's paid to take photographs of him in all his loveliness.
And a big trade delegation of wealthy businessmen.
Oh, yeah.
To sign big trade deals for British companies. Companies like Clyde Blowers.
They're one of the biggest bloviating companies in the world.
So, on this vitally important trade mission,
Yeah.
who did the papers concentrate on?
Oh, the Jimmy Choo woman.
That's right, the
Yes.
Jimmy Choo shoe woman, Tamara Mellon.
She's a trade ambassador for Cameron and the coalition.
But what type of shoes?
High, glamorous shoes, mainly.
Stilettos. They're very useful in the rice paddies for... stick the rice in. There we are, look, a typical Chinese paddy field worker.
Sitting in Europe's biggest champagne glass.
Now, Cameron's been appointing quite a lot of people to jobs recently. He's given this person a job who looks quite glamorous. She's Anna Maron Ashford, who used to be head of brand communication for the Tories. She's now heading up the behavioural insight team in the Cabinet Office.
She's got her work cut out then, hasn't she?
Well, what's it responsible for? Any idea?
Is it PR?
Well, it's devising ways to encourage people to change their behaviour.
What, in the cabinet?
So what, she's waterboarding, basically?
Yes, it's International Statesman Week. George Bush has just published his memoirs called Decision Points. Bush's book was ghostwritten by speechwriter Christopher Michel, who told her the morning he got the job. I checked my email whilst on holiday and was surprised to find a long message from the president, which began, "Dear Mr. Google, how come you know so much stuff?" Bush even claims to have had a heated argument with Cherie Blair about the death penalty, but ultimately he convinced her that Gordon Brown deserved to live. David Cameron met with China's Premier Wen Jiabao. The issues of human rights and forced labour were briefly raised, but Cameron brushed it aside, saying the unemployed should pick up litter. And so to round two, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Oh. Queen's on Facebook.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't think you can be her friend on Facebook. I think you can only be a fan or a subject.
That's right.
Is she conducting a video conference there?
You know what Facebook is, Ian?
Yes, I do know it.
It's the one that's not Twitter.
Yeah.
Tweeting is for the older, more discerning wastrel.
Yeah.
What's her status? Is it raining?
Apparently, she doesn't update her status, lazy old bag. That won't get in. No, the sorts of things she puts on her Facebook page, apparently, basically a fan page based on the Daily Court Circular list. It is principally an exhaustive list of royal visits to open sports halls and to listen to conferences on sustainable farming. Oh, I think I've just come. Sorry, that won't get me either. Sorry, Ian.
You didn't take much of a run-up.
We old ladies have to be quick about it, Paul. We do. Does anyone know what pleasure the Queen will be denying her followers?
Oh, yes, poking.
That's right.
What?
They won't be able to poke her.
Won't they?
No. All they'll be able to do is like whatever she says she's up to.
Do you think she's got a wall full of pictures of her and Philip drunk gag?
See, I joined Facebook as she did. Also this week, lots of royal trivia was revealed in a new book, We Are Amused, a Royal Miscellany. Shall we play a little mini monarchy quiz?
Yes, definitely.
Question 1. What does the Queen absolutely hate and can spot at 20 paces?
Prince Philip.
Clip-on bow ties. What did Prince Philip invent to keep the Queen happy?
ITV.
No, the Queen hates the sound of ice cubes banging against each other in her gin and dubonnet. So Philip invented a clever device that turns them into tiny ice balls that rub gently together. What's the Queen's favourite pastime when at Balmoral?
Hiding in a chimney. Making blancmanges. Straining oxtail soup through her tights. I mean, could be anything, couldn't it?
Apparently she enjoys trying to catch bats in the... Wait a minute, it gets better. In the Great Hall, using only a footman and a pole with a net on it.
Is the footman on the end of the pole?
And finally, what is white and leathery and taken with Prince Charles everywhere he goes?
Who's going to resist it?
I resist it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I'm not going there.
All right, it's his own white leather toilet seat.
You can't call her that.
Not fair.
This is the news that the Queen now has a page on Facebook. No doubt the Queen has already been inundated with requests from old school friends keen to meet up. So sad we lost touch. What are you up to these days? Tell me you didn't marry that Greek tit. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Yes, this is clearly the BBC news strike because of the pension arrangements, and so lots of people stepped in. I didn't see any of it, but people stepped in and started reading the news, and in some cases making it up.
There was an extraordinary desperation because a lot of programmes went off the air, and one night they couldn't put on Newsnight, and instead they showed an old episode of Have I Got News for You? Sad.
What was the episode?
1910.
A lot of Kaiser gags in there. Yeah, UNU's army, mate. Yeah.
How did Jeremy Paxman anticipate the strike would affect things on Newsnight the following night? Should we have a look?
Well, I don't think we need to detain you any longer. Tomorrow night, well, I've no idea what's happening tomorrow night, so good night.
The economics editor of Newsnight, though, who was on the picket line, Paul Mason.
Phone ringing.
Yeah.
Take the Viagra now. If you don't swallow it, you get a stiff neck. Do you know what I mean?
Can someone get rid of this thing? I can't work it at all.
Don't you know how to turn your own phone off?
No. You go and throw that away. Sorry.
That's right.
I didn't even know I had it in my pocket.
A phone that you've never seen before rings. This is the beginning of some sort of spy mystery or something.
Let's move on then and
Yeah.
pretend it never happened.
It was a break from the enduring tedium of this news quiz. What's the next bit? What's the next bit?
I did
All
tell
right.
Her Majesty, don't ring me at work.
Now, the BBC weather presenter Thomas Schaffernacker caused a storm this week. Any ideas what he did?
Well, he caused a storm, personally.
He outraged viewers.
Did he?
He presented his weather bulletin wearing jeans and a V-neck jumper.
Oh, no. Oh, hang on.
Here he is, look.
Oh, was he the guy that gave a V sign to one of the presenters? When
Well,
he,
yes,
when he
ish.
thought he
I mean,
was out of
yes.
the shot?
He was recently caught live on air making a rude gesture. Let's have a look.
Now we'll have the weather forecast in a minute, and of course it'll be 100% accurate and provide all the detail you could possibly want. I've just seen Thomas Schaffernacker preparing for it, so I'm not entirely... Oh, no, he was on mistake. That was it, no.
Wasn't he suggesting there was a cyclone expected in the Midlands?
He should have just pretended he was checking which way the wind was blowing him around. Which means at the end of this round, it's Ian and Sally with 3, Paul and Charlie with 3.
Wow.
Time now for the odd one out. Your 4 are Prince William, a passenger on a flight from Hong Kong to Vancouver, the Stig, and the players representing Togo in a football match against Bahrain.
Well, the football team down there claimed to be representing Togo, but they weren't. They said they got to play an international match, but they weren't actually the Togo national team at all. They were rather embarrassed by the fact that they lost quite heavily. So I think this is about people using different identities or pretending to have another identity.
Or is it about identities being revealed?
Ah, yes.
Because the Stig, obviously...
His identity was revealed. You're quite right.
The guy on the top right, that's actually a young man. But he sneaked his way onto some flight from China or Hong Kong or somewhere, and then he went to toilets and came back as a young man and sat down.
Try to blame it on the Nivea. Just be moisturising. Do we think Prince William's the odd one out?
No, you're in the right area, but no, that's not right.
Oh. Right, let's guess someone else. The man on the top right is the only one trying to pass himself off as Rupert Murdoch.
Go for the Stig, then.
Let's go for the Stig, yeah.
We're going to go for the Stig.
We're going to go for the Stig.
Correct.
Yay! Well done. But we don't know why.
They've all tried to conceal their identity, apart from the Stig, who revealed his identity, much to the dismay of the Top Gear team. The BBC recently lost an injunction preventing racing car driver Ben Collins, a.k.a. the Stig, from revealing himself in his autobiography. The High Court judge ruled that the fact that Mr Collins was the Stig was so generally accessible, the information had lost its confidential character. In other words, who cares? Prince William. Now, this summer, Prince William concealed his identity during a visit to McColl's mini market in Blaenau Festiniog, Wales. What did the cashier say when Prince William approached the till?
Hello, Your Majesty.
Shop assistant Sinead Compton said, "Oh, my God, you're Prince William, aren't you?" To which he replied, "No, no, I'm not." Cunning. She said, "I don't know why he didn't just say, 'Yes, I'm William, pleased to meet you.'" Because he probably wasn't, love. And a passenger on a flight from Hong Kong to Vancouver, as you said, Charlie. Yes. Shall we have a look at how he transformed himself? Well, that's sort of what he actually looked like. And here he is in his crafty disguise. During the flight, he went to the washroom and emerged as an Asian-looking male who appeared to be in his early 20s. Something I plan to do myself at some point in the evening. And finally, the players representing Togo in a football match against Bahrain. After a friendly between Togo and Bahrain, recently it emerged that the Togolese team weren't exactly who they said they were. What first aroused suspicions for the home side?
Well, they were awful, that they couldn't play football.
That's right. Joseph Hickersberger, the Bahrainian team coach whose side won the fixture 3-0, was surprised by the poor quality of the Togolese team, saying they had no idea of tactics, no organisation in defence and faded badly in the second half. Now, obviously, I would make a clever comparison to the England team's performance at the World Cup, but sadly it turns out I don't really give a shit. So they have all tried to conceal their identity apart from the Stig. Sources at Top Gear say everyone regards Ben Collins' behaviour as the ultimate betrayal. In fact, he's since received death threats. Well, Richard Hammond offered him a lift home. Prince William recently tried to conceal his identity while shopping with Kate Middleton in Wales. The royal couple's shopping bill came to £12.60, the most ever spent in McColl's mini market in Blaenau Festiniog since Prince Harry cleaned them out of vodka and Rizzlers. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication Rat and Mouse magazine. Available in vivisection laboratory receptions everywhere. And we start with, if what, I would punch you in the face.
As if I was a boxer.
If we weren't in Parliament. This is MP Paul Farrelly, who had an altercation with a newspaper vendor this week. It's the worst brawl in the House of Commons bar since John Prescott and Eric Pickles had a disagreement over who should have the last packet of pork scratching.
It's nice to see that they're now sort of merging Eric Pickles into John Prescott. Yeah. It's a double act at the moment, and suddenly Prescott will be eased out as Pickles becomes
the fat jokes for him.
What about Eamon Holmes? Where's he gone?
He complained about John Coleshaw doing an impression of him and
when
suggesting that he was fat.
Or something.
And
yes.
He got an apology from the BBC, Eamon Holmes.
Really?
So you're not allowed to sort of mention his size in any way at all.
It was a very funny sketch, though.
Was it?
He used to eat the sofa and then the guests would come in and Eamon Holmes would have eaten the guests.
Yeah.
The basic joke was he's rather overweight, which he is.
Well, maybe we can bring that sort of answer into this, because they'll have to use this round. So if every answer is Eamon Holmes is overweight, then we've made a point. Or resigned one way or the other.
OK, right, your next one. 2 German stunt mice, what, whilst playing mouse roulette?
Imitate an overweight Eamon Holmes.
No, raise money for charity. Oh, God. According to Rat and Mouse magazine, their German owner is planning on bringing the Stunt Mouse show on tour to the UK next summer. So if you didn't get tickets for Take That, don't worry. Should we have another one?
Yeah, go on then.
What? No thanks.
A 7th course, no thanks. Not mention anybody at all that it might refer to.
Another sofa?
No mention. Don't say who it is, we'll get away with it.
No thanks.
It's want to live in Britain. This is a United Nations report on the best places in the world to live. According to the list, Australia is the 2nd best place to live in the world, and New Zealand is the 3rd. So here's a thought. Why don't you all piss off home and get a job in your own pubs? OK, next. Co-op boobs what?
50p off. Co-op boobs revealed as simply painted melons.
Well, the answer is co-op boobs in overcharging scandal. This is the shopper who was charged £1.79 for a 79p pepper because the cashier's breasts were resting on the scales. Good job I wasn't serving. It would have cost her 40 quid. Even worse, the cashier was a bloke.
Oh, dear.
Next. What wears the Pope?
Rats. Where's the...
Ratzinger, that was his name.
Bear is
Ratzinger.
shitting in the woods, but where's the Pope?
Well, then the answer is holy smoke, where's the Pope? This is the Pope who was photographed in Barcelona, covered in smoke. According to the Express, the Pope's presence in the city prompted around 100 gay men to stage a 5-minute kiss-in protest as the Pope-mobile drove past. The Pope was disgusted. Some of them were over 16 and all were consenting. And finally, Yoda what at Stroud Leisure Centre?
Bursts.
Teaches yoga.
Yeah.
Yoda classes for dyslexics.
Yeah.
At Stroud Leisure Centre.
Yeah.
No, all right, it's Yoda runs canteen. This is, in fact, Yoda Reeves, 29, who's described by The Sun as a bachelor. Big surprise, not it is. So the final scores are Ian and Sally have 4 and Paul and Charlie have 5. But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Man bouncing off Eamon Holmes' stomach creates new Guinness World Record.
On which note we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Sally Bercow, Paul Merton and Charlie Higson, and I leave you with news that in central London, news gets out that Ed Miliband's new baby is keeping him up all night. In a bid to liven up his train journey home, one bored commuter sees how many peanuts he can get on target. And in Beijing Zoo, as 2 pandas fail once again to mate, there's some unnecessary taunting from the cage next door.
We're spending the next couple of hours here on BBC Two with Neil Diamond, so get ready to embark on a musical journey next.